Hi everybody, good morning. This is a free English class for all levels, and the topics today will be phrasal verbs and possibly idioms as well. Okay, so it's a free English class and the same as last week, similar structure, and I want to analyze a few things and hopefully to help. It's possible we have an interruption with the internet, and also I have a dog, so it's possible that you will hear the dog soon. But hopefully we can fix the, if we have an interruption we can continue very quickly. Okay, so my name is Brian. I'm from Dublin in Ireland, and I have been teaching for the last 11 years, working with people from Spain, Brazil, Italy, different parts of the world, preparing exams, the Cambridge exams, the IELTS, and just English in general. And since March I returned to Dublin, and this is the reason I am giving the free classes now, because I'm working online at the moment and I want to give free classes to try to help and also to stay connected with people. Okay, so here you can see the first document is the introduction document. So this is the same as last week. Okay, and this document is very important in my opinion. También ojalá que puedes me entiendes, porque puedo hablar en español también si quieres y si necesitas, pero es posible los dos. Entonces ojalá que me entiendes en inglés también. Okay, so this document is the introduction document, and it's very important in my opinion, probably the most important. At the beginning I give this document to every student at the start. Okay, and for me there are three sections. The first section is use of English, the second section are the tenses, and the third section is the grammar at the bottom. Okay, so last week was the same. I gave free classes last week and I introduced this document at the beginning also, because during the class I focus on some technical vocabulary and it's necessary to explain the technical vocabulary before we continue with the class, in my opinion. Okay, so first issue is accents. So I'll make my screen a little smaller. In English there are many different accents in different parts of the world. So English spoken in Ireland, you have different accents in Ireland. In the UK, in England, in Scotland, in Wales, you have different accents completely. Australia, United States. So that's very, very difficult when you're learning English to catch the different accents. So for me, that's probably one of the most important aspects to learn English. Okay, today we will look in particular at phrasal verbs. Alright, and in general a phrasal verb is a verb and a preposition which has a second significance. So sometimes it has a literal significance, but often, frequently, there's a second significance. And an example is maybe carry on. So I hope you can see this as well with the size. So carry is like llevar, carry the baby, carry the bag, but carry on has the significance of to continue. So, and it's necessary the next verb in the gerundio. For example, carry on eating, carry on going, carry on drinking, like continue. So that's one example of a phrasal verb, and it's quite difficult but very fluent, very common in conversation and very normal. And the next one is typical as well, set up. So that's the verb to set, which is very flexible, but together with set up it means to establish or to start. Set up a meeting, set up a company, set up a business. It's to start or create or to establish. Okay, so today in my document I will show you lots of phrasal verbs in particular. Also, in general in English, idioms are very key in English for natives and for fluency. So a lot of expressions, frases hechas en español. So one example is a brain drain. So the sound is very good, like the rhythm, but the brain is the cerebrium, I think, in español, and to drain is to extract. So drain is typical for water in the house. The water drains from the roof, from the techo. Okay, so to drain is to extract. And if you have a brain drain, the significance is education, and people with education or qualifications or skills, they leave the country to look for better opportunities. So the country loses the talented or the educated or the skilled people. That's the concept. Okay, That's just one example. This line in particular is just for pronunciation, and probably for Spanish speakers in particular. The Y, the J, the SH, the G, the J again, the G again, the G, the J, the Y, and here we have two words as well, chicken and kitchen. So I'll just pronounce these very quickly just to help you a little. So yellow, jacket; cash, register; a jet engine; fragile, jealousy; yearly, chicken and kitchen. So that's just one list of an example of pronunciation. So for me, this area of use of English is probably the most important area when you're studying English. Okay, the next section is just general, the different times or the different tenses in English. Again, we have different structures for the times in English. I'm going to give you an example here with my video on my screen. So basically we have the simple, we have the present simple, one action in the present; we have the present simple; we have the future simple, one action in the future; we have the past simple, one action completed in the past. Then we have the continuous, so it's a continuous action in the past continuous with the verb to be plus the gerundio. For example, I was eating, okay, I was meeting, I was going, I was talking. That's the past continuous. We also have the present continuous, an action that you are doing in the present that you're continuing. For example, I am speaking. So it's the verb to be plus the gerund. I am speaking, I am walking, I am talking. Then the future continuous, I will be eating, I will be drinking, I will be talking. So the extra auxiliary verb to be in the future simple plus the gerund, and that's the future continuous. Next we have the perfect. So we have two perfect tenses that are very, very common: the past perfect and the present perfect. So the past perfect is usually an action in the past that's before another action in the past simple. For example, I had eaten, and its construction is the subject, the auxiliary have in the past plus the participle. For example, I had eaten my dinner when my friend contacted me, the past simple. So that's the past perfect, okay? The present perfect is something that happened in the past, but it's related and significant to the present. For example, and the construction is the same, the auxiliary verb to have plus the participle and the subject. I have eaten my dinner, or I have eaten my breakfast. So it's in the past, but it's relevant to the present because at the moment I am not hungry. Okay, so that's the concept of the perfect, and it's possible in the future as well with the verb to be plus the auxiliary. I will have eaten. Okay, so it's a little interesting but very common, the concept of the continuous and the perfect. We also have the conditional, which is very heavy with the theory. So basically there's the first conditional, the zero conditional, second conditional, third conditional and mixed conditional. It's about if. For example, if it rains today, I will not go to the city centre. If I won the lottery yesterday, I would have bought. So it can be a little bit complicated, but we will look at the theory later in relation to the conditional. The final example that I want to explain, the second last, is the infinitive. So the concept of the infinitive is very clear and very important. In Espanol, it's para beber, para comer, para dormir, but in English it's to eat, to drink, to sleep, to go. Infinitive, okay? Always the infinitive with to. And here's the example here: to hear or to start. And the final important point, in my opinion, in relation to the tenses is the active and the passive, the concept of the active and the passive. For example, the active, subject, verb, object. I drink Coca-Cola. And then the passive, you change the position. The Coca-Cola, extra verb to be, the Coca-Cola is being, present continuous, is being drunk, participle by me. So that's an example of the active and the passive. It's similar in different languages as well, particularly Spanish. And here's one example: the hunter is the subject, killed is the past simple of matar, and the lion is the object. So the passive, you change the position. The lion is the object, the auxiliary verb to be plus the participle was killed by the hunter. So the active and the passive are very important in my opinion. And finally, before we really begin the class, I just want to explain a few other concepts. This is very familiar for everybody last week, but these are new for new people. This is very important. So in English we have the concept of a substantive or a noun, and basically a noun is a person, a place or a thing. Substantivo in Espanol, and that concept is very, very important. For example, hand, head, jacket, they're substantive, they're nouns, okay? Then we have articles. So in English there's the article, there is the definite article, como la or el, and there's the indefinite article, como una or un in Espanol, okay? So there's an exception, there is a rule. When the verb, or when the noun starts with a vowel, it's necessary to include the N, okay? So an apple, so that's a little rule that's very important. But in general, it's a or a, the pronunciation is no problem for the indefinite article, and the second one is the definite article. Okay, so the next concept is very important, and you can see here, I'm going to move the document so I can move it a bit easier. Yes, here we go. So the next concept is countable and uncountable substantives. So is it possible to count the head, the substantive, the head? Yes, one head, two heads, three heads. Hand, yes, one hand, two hands, three hands. Water, is it possible to count water? No, not really. A bottle of water, yes. A glass of water, yes. But water is not really possible to count itself. So water would be an example of uncountable, and that is important in relation to how much or how many. So for how much, it's for uncountable. How much water do you want? How much chocolate do you want? How much time do you have? And for how many, it's for countable. How many pens do you have? How many books? How many days? Okay, that's just very simple but very important as well. Adjectives describe the substantive. So for example, head, the adjective is big, big head. Hand, adjective small, small hand. Okay, so those adjectives are very common in English and they really describe the substantive. Adverb, in English, the suffix normally ends in ly for the adverb. Quickly, slowly, fastly. Okay, and in Espanol it's mente, como suavemente, lentamente. So the adverb describes the verb, and here is the word, for example, quickly. I ran, the verb to run, corre. I ran quickly. To speak, hablar, to speak slowly. So it's very important, connected with the verb. The next concept is modal verbs, and in English modal verbs are very common and very important compared to other languages. So a modal verb, for example, can, could, may, might, shall, should, will, would. Basically, can is for ability. I can play the piano. I can run for 2 hours. I can speak to my friend. It's ability. Okay, you have the ability. Could, may and might are very, very similar, all for possibility. So today it could rain, today it may rain, today it might rain. All practically the same. The difference probably is polite. May and might are a little more polite and maybe a little more formal, but there's no real difference between the three in that context. Okay, shall is Old English and it's not so common. It's a very formal word and it's similar to will or should, very similar. So for example, shall we go to the cinema is the significance, will we go to the cinema, or should we go to the cinema, very similar. It's a very old word and it's formal in my opinion. For advice, consejo in Espanol, for advice it's normal to give the word or to say the word should. So if I give you advice, I say to you, you should go to the cinema, you should speak with your friend, you should watch that movie. So it's my advice for you. Okay, and will is generally the future and would is connected with the conditional as well. Okay, very important. Also today I want to show you a document in relation to the prepositions, but this is just a little introduction of the many prepositions we have. So it depends on the location or the movement. So my ring, anillo, my ring is on my finger because it's a surface. Usually a surface Table, wall, we say on. In is usually enclosed, dentro, in the room, in the box, it's in. Okay, so prepositions are very important, and today I have a document because it's connected to the phrasal verbs. Possessives, for example, my pen, your pen, his pen, her pen, our pen. It's when it's not a person. For example, the country, its city, its population. So its is usually when it's not the person. Our, their, whose is cuyos in Espanol. And the next one is demonstratives. That's the technical term, but the difference between this, that, these and those is fundamental and very important. This is singular in the position here, this pen. That is singular in the position away, so that pen, this pen. These is the plural and the position here, these pens, and those is for plural in the position away as well. Okay, so very important difference between the three. The pronunciation is important, the spelling is important, and the use is important. Okay, and then at the end here, the difference between another and other. Generally, another is for singular, another day, another week, another year, and generally other is for plural, other days, other weeks, other years, other people. So that's the general difference between the two. That's very important as well. How to create the question, the concept of suffix and prefix. For example, the suffix ans is usually substantive, this suffix is usually the verb, this suffix is usually adjective, this suffix is the adverb. Okay, so these suffixes are the negative, irregular. So it's very important to recognize, and it's a good clue, a good hint for you when you're learning English to pay attention to the suffix and the prefix. It's a little secret. Okay, linkers and conjunctions. Aunque, sin embargo in Espanol, however, although. So there's many linkers that are very important as well to make you more fluent in English. Okay, so in my opinion, that's the most important. They are the most important issues for English in general. Then we have writing. So writing is a different concept, and it's important to practice your writing, of course. Also speaking, it's very important to practice your speaking with a partner, with a friend, and it's very good for you to do. And then exam preparation as well for the different exams. Okay, and then the final one is preparing for a job or preparing for a job interview, your CV. That's very important in English as well. So I'm going to close this window. Well done, that's very, very good. And that's just the introduction. It's the same every day, so I will probably repeat the introduction tomorrow and the same last week. So today I want to show you a list of phrasal verbs. So remember, the phrasal verb is the verb plus the preposition, verb plus preposition, but the significance is possible a second significance and a literal significance. So remember, carry on, it could be a literal significance, carry the baby onto the plane, that's the literal significance, or carry on eating means continue, which is a completely different significance. And that's the important part of the phrasal verbs. You have a second significance that's different from the literal significance. And this page, this document, we have 20 pages, so we have many phrasal verbs that are so important in conversation with friends, in movies, in series, in formal situations, informal situations. And this document, I'll show you the link in my video later on Facebook. I will put the link for the page, but in my opinion this page is one of the most interesting and important documents. Okay, so we have this document, and there's an alternative document here if we want, with the translation in Spanish, but there are alternative phrasal verbs here. So on the internet there are a lot of there's a lot of material, a lot of resources available, but today I just want to select this document to help you a little. So the first one is to act, the verb to act. In the theatre, in the movie, you have the actor, which is the person, and the verb is to act. Okay, and the translation in Spanish, so you're clear, is English to Spanish. Okay, the verb to act. Very important verb, and as I said, it's connected to the actor, but the verb specifically is comportarse, to behave, tomar decisión, actuar, fingir. I think that's the best translation. Okay, But with up, the preposition up, it's a second significance, and it means to behave, comporter, in a different way. So for example, my watch is acting up. That means my watch is behaving in a bad way. It's not functioning correctly. And here's the definition: behave or function improperly. Okay, so my watch is acting up. There's lots of errors, there's lots of problems with my watch. My telephone is acting up. It's not possible to connect with my friend. It's almost broken. There's lots of problems. It's acting up. It's possible with your friend. Your friend is acting up. He or she is not communicating with you properly, or not contacting you, maybe ignoring you. So they're behaving improperly. Okay. So act up, it's very simple in English, very small word, but the significance is very important. And the example here, I think I need to take my car to the mechanic because it's acting up again. So it here is the car, the verb to be is, and it's the present continuous. It is acting up, so it is functioning improperly, it is behaving improperly again. So very, very interesting example and very important. Okay, the second one is add, como añadir, and the asterisk is algo. Entonces, añadir algo up. So add up is literal. In the shop for mathematics, you have 10 plus 10, and 10 plus 10 add up to 20. So that's very literal, very simple, because they add up. So up is the total. Okay, so 2 and 2 add up to 4. That's the first significance of add up. The second significance of add up to is practically the same. So the total expenses added up to, so you're just directly with the number, but the third example is different. So this example, add up, is very common in conversation. Significa hacer sentido, to make sense. So the example is, her story, su historia, no añade, does not add up. That's a very good example. So her story, her explanation does not add up. So imagine your friend explains the details to you, and something in your mind is not correct about the story. So something's a little strange about the story. So something is missing in the story, and for you, your opinion, her story does not add up. It does not make sense, and that's very typical in conversation with friends. Very, very common phrasal verb in English. A little bit difficult to understand. That's the reason this area, in my opinion, is the most important area when you're learning English, for sure. So that example is to make sense. So something doesn't add up, something is missing, something is strange. Very important phrasal verb. It looks very simple, but it's very important. The next one is very normal. Como ask is preguntar, and out is salir. But usually it's for romantic situations, como salir con alguien, salir con alguien, and invite on a date. A date is a cita, and it's usually romantic, for example. Okay, so to ask somebody out, to ask him out, to ask Brian out, to ask her out, to ask the person. Okay, so I can't believe, no creo que, Joe finally, al final, asked me, in the past simple, asked me out on a date. Okay, so to ask somebody out is como salir con alguien. The next one is ask, asterisk, ask alguien, ask somebody over. Okay, to invite to your house. So over is the preposition, like this. And if you ask your friend over to your house, it's an invitation for food, for just a chat, and invite to someone's home. Okay, so the preposition is important. To ask out, salir con alguien, is because normally you're in the house and you want to go out to the restaurant, out to a bar, out to a cafe. That's the significance with the preposition. Okay, so I want to show you a list of prepositions just before we continue, because here is the list, and they're so important in English, the prepositions. They are used in phrasal verbs, and they're used in movement, and they're used in lots of situations. So here's a list, a short list of the more common prepositions. Okay, so you have all the A, B, C, D, E, F, and I recommend that you look at this page yourself that you try to understand the prepositions fundamentally and very important, because they are the base and the foundation of every part of English. Okay, so this page, I will put the link on the video as well. You can see the author. Here's the website. Okay, but you need to understand very clearly the concept of the preposition. Okay, and it's so important before you continue with everything else. So this page is very important. And so we go back to the phrasal verbs, the list here. So that's ask over. So that's the example of A. We had act up, like behave badly or to function improperly. Add up to is literal, the calculation with money. Add up is very important, like it does not make sense, something is missing, very important. Ask out, ask somebody out, salir con alguien por una cita. And ask over is to come for a coffee to somebody's house. Ask over. Okay, it's possible ask round as well, the preposition round, because the house is possible here and the other house here. Ask round, ask over, ask to. There's lots of different possibilities with prepositions, and that's one example. Okay, so let's look at B. Okay, back is espalda, but también es un verbo to back. And when it has the preposition to back down, it's typical in an argument. You have one person in a confrontation with another person, and they're very strong and very aggressive, but then one person back down, so almost remove from the argument, remove from the fight. So imagine it's a discussion, it's a conversation, and they have two opinions, and then this person says, okay, I'm sorry, you're right, you're correct, I don't want to argue. So that's to back down. Okay, typical in opinion or debate or discussion. And here's the example: Jane never backs down, she always wins arguments. Entonces siempre ella siempre gana discusiones. Okay, back out is very important as well. So back again, it's simple, espalda, pero el verb to back. And then back out is typical in a commitment. If you have an event or a commitment, a promise, like for example a wedding, a meeting, a lesson, a school class, and then finally you back out, is como cancel. You annular, you cancel the event, you cancel the wedding, you cancel the party, to back out of the promise or the commitment. Okay, so here the explanation is para no mantener, the promise, el trato de acuerdo. Okay, so como romper, very important phrase verb to back out. And here Sam backed out at the last second. So at the last moment, Sam decided to change his opinion, change his mind, and cancel the event. Very important. Okay, back out of a holiday, back out of a it's very frequent. Okay, and here's exactly the same, back out of. So it's possible with the phrasal verb without the substantive, but with of we have the substantive. So back out of the agreement. The agreement is the substantive. Back somebody up. Okay, so to back somebody up is very famous as well, or to back something up. So imagine your friend has an argument with another friend, and you arrive in this position. You support, apoyar. So there's two people. Your friend and the other person have an argument, and you, this is you support your friend. So that's to back somebody up, because you are behind them in support, apoyar. Okay, so to back your friend up, to back the company up, to back the manager up, support, apoyar. The second meaning is related to save the computer. So if you back up the computer, all the documents on your computer are saved, or are for in case there's an emergency or in case there's a problem. So it's possible your computer, and you back up your computer, you save, extract the documents from the computer and keep for yourself for a possible dangerous situation for the computer. So to back something up is to save the documents from the computer. Okay, and the other example is to support, to back your friend up, to back the company or the manager, to support. Very important. And here they say necesitas ejemplos para apoyar, to back up your opinion. Okay, and then this example with backup is literal. Okay, in relation to the car, if you are driving in the car and you're parking, come up, park the car, and you have the car and your friend tells you back up, so it's an instruction to move, mover atrás, okay, to move back. So that's literal as well, to back up, typical with the car, okay. The next one is very proficient and very, very advanced. It's probably not so common, but it's very advanced, okay. To ball, same pronunciation as balón in Espanol, to the ball, the football. So to ball somebody out, it's very native, it's very proficient. I would not recommend it immediately to remember, but it is possible, okay. So to criticize or reprimand, and here's an example. Ella, she bawled him out for arriving late, okay. There is one possible example, and here I have my notes on the page here because I want to show you one other example. To bawl, and I think it's in relation llorar in Espanol, to cry. So if somebody is bawling, it's the same as to cry. And I'll make this text bigger. So that's more common in my opinion, to bawl and to cry. Okay, so I'll try and make this text a little bit bigger so you can see it. And that's very common in conversation. She is bawling, that means she is crying or he is crying. Okay, and so she is crying, con mucho ruido, very loud, muy alto. Okay. Bear is very important as well. Bear is tolerar in Espanol, and it's like llevar también. To bear is like a formal way to carry. Okay, it's very important in English to bear. It's like to carry, and in Espanol it's also like to tolerate. Tolerar in Espanol, and the typical example is the weather. So I cannot bear the weather, I cannot bear the person, I cannot bear the situation. It's como no puedo soportar, no puedo tolerar. Very common in English, and it's a very key expression, to bear. No puedo tolerar, or apoyar. Okay. It's also possible I can't stand. Okay, I can't tolerate or I can't stand, and I will write the examples here because they're very interesting and common. Okay, I can't stand and I can't tolerate. They are all the same. It's como no puedo soportar, no puedo apoyar. Okay, and bear is exactly the same. So 3 synonyms, 3 words that are so important in English for conversation and for every situation. Here, bear down on, it's very difficult, but it's related to bite, morder in Espanol. So to bear down on is to bite. It's related to your teeth, and when you bear, it's like carry or put poner, and your peso, poner tu peso, on the apple, manzana. So to bear down on is to bite. Not so common, but it is possible, and here's the example. Okay, so the soldier, soldado, had to, obligation, bear down on the leather strap. So leather is the material. For example, that's leather in Espanol, so we're clear here. Leather is here. It's a type of material, and leather, cuero, I think. Cuero, okay? And the strap, so this is the strap. So the example is the soldier, soldado, obligation, had to bear down on the leather strap, mientras, while the doctor removed a bullet, bala, from his arm. So very difficult situation, very mucho dolor, and he's bearing down on the strap, so he's biting. So not so common, but it is possible. Okay. The next one is more typical in my opinion. To bear down on is to tomar medidas muy fuerte. So to bear down on, very similar concept really to the apple, but if you want castigar, to punish, you bear down on the soldier, you bear down on the traffickers. Okay. And in my opinion that's quite common and for specific situations. So you can see sometimes the phrasal verbs are quite difficult, but honestly they're the secret in my opinion to learning English, because for native speakers or for people who are proficient in English, the phrasal verbs are very natural and very fluent, but for people learning English they are so difficult. But if you master this concept of phrasal verbs, it will help you so much. Okay, and I'll just move to the next one as well. So here is bear on something. This again has a little different meaning from the other. So for example, this information may bear on the case, like have an influence. In this case, it's like tener influenza. So this information may have influence on the case. It may bear. It's the same concept like like pesar, like to weigh. Okay, similar concept, because you, with to bear down on the apple, you're kind of weighing peso on the apple. To bear down on the strap, it's the same concept, and the information will bear on the case. It will have a weight or an influence on the case. So very difficult, but very, very important. Here is like tolerate. So bear up is like tolerate, and withstand is a synonym of tolerate. Like surviving. How are you surviving the situation? How are you tolerating with the situation? How are you withstanding the situation? So how are you bearing up with the situation? Here's an example. I didn't think he would bear up so well in that situation. I didn't think he would survive so well. I didn't think he would manage so well. I didn't think he would do so well in that situation. So it's a very, very interesting example, and it's quite common, and I recommend that you analyze in detail the translation for bear in Spanish, in French, in Portuguese, in any language that you're comfortable with. Okay, and exactly the same with under, with the substantive, under the pressure, under the situation, under the circumstances. Okay, bear with is also in formal situations, in business. If you're on the telephone and you're communicating with a customer, it's very possible to say bear with me, and it means wait, be patient with me. Okay, so bear with me, tolerate me, because I have to find some information. Bear with me, very, very important, like be patient. Okay, so today that's just a little example with A and B, and I will continue tomorrow with from blow in. I will continue with more. So you can see it's very difficult, but at the same time very, very important. And I recommend that you study yourself the phrasal verbs and really try to understand the phrasal verbs. Then try to catch the phrasal verbs in conversation, in movies, with friends, and then try to practice, try to use the phrasal verbs also. They're very, very important for sure. Okay, so for today I will close this, and the preposition list I can close. Okay, this is a list of idioms, but for the moment I want to move to an article. So if we can see this article, this is just a news story from yesterday, and Larry King, for example, is a presenter in the United States of a television program, very famous, and this website is BBC News, and this is a normal article, a very interesting article in relation to just ordinary news and normal fluent English news. Okay, so I want to analyze the vocabulary a little, just to give you an example of the grammar from the document in the actual reality, in the real text. Okay, and maybe we have some phrasal verbs in the text as well. So first I will read the text just for pronunciation a little, and then I will analyze the vocabulary to help you a little. Okay, so Larry King, US TV legend, so the pronunciation legend in Espanol is leyenda, so that's very important pronunciation, legend, who hosted 50,000 interviews. So first I want to show important, who is a quien. So technically this is a pronoun, grammatically that's a relative pronoun, and who is quien. Okay, hosted is a very important verb, to host, and it's typical for a meeting or for a party. You can host a meeting or you can host a party, very common, and it's like organize or manage. So if you host a party, you welcome everybody to the party, you organize the drink for everybody, you organize the food for everybody. You are the host, but the verb is to host. Okay, to host a party. It's possible to host a meeting. Okay, and this person, for example, on the left, he is the host of the interview and he's welcoming the guests, he's helping the guests, okay? También un hace falta in español for the aeroplane is similar. It's possible an air hostess for feminine. So that's a hace falta in the aeroplane, okay? So an air hostess for the female. And possibly for masculine, I think it's just air host, okay? That's one possible word for the hace falta in español, okay? But here, also, the interviews is the substantive, an interview, entrevista, but it's also a verb to interview, and it's also possible interviewee and interviewer. So this is an example of the sufijos, and you need to be very clear. So the verb is to interview, el verbo, substantive is the interview, entrevista, then the person, two people, you have interviewer, okay, that's a person, and it's the person who's making the questions, the person who is asking the questions, the host of the program as well, okay? So it's a person who asks, and I think my computer is a little slow, who asks questions, and then the opposite is the interviewee. It's the person who receives the question. So in this example on the left, the man on the left is the interviewer, he is asking the questions. The man on the right is the interviewee. There's two interviewees and there's one interviewer, and in general it's the interview, okay? It's similar with employ. You have the employer, employee, very, very important. I'll just put it here as well. The employer is the company or the boss, and the employee is the worker. So very simple, very small detail with the suffix, but at the same time very, very important, okay? So employer is the person, the company or the boss who gives the job, and the employee is the worker or the person who's in the company. So important. Okay, so we move to the next one, and I'll go back to the document just to practice the pronunciation. So we will do one or two paragraphs just to look at the vocabulary. So I'll zoom in as well because it's very small, and I'll move my picture so you can see. Zoom to make it bigger. Okay, so here we go. So we'll do this first section, and that's probably enough, sufficient for today. So with his trademark braces, rolled up sleeves and easy style of questioning, Larry King, who has died aged 87, is one of the legends of US broadcasting. During his 6-decade career, which included 25 years hosting his own nightly program on CNN, King interviewed many of the most famous political leaders, celebrities and sports people of the day. At its peak, his Larry King Live show on CNN was bringing in 1.5 million viewers a night. When the final episode aired into 2010 or 2010, it was the longest running show hosted by the same person. In a recorded message on his final show, then US President Barack Obama said King had opened our eyes to the world beyond our living rooms. CNN said he had been described as the Muhammad Ali of broadcast interviews. So that's just one little section, and in this section we have many examples of grammar topics and very important points, okay? So here I'm going to show you the key vocabulary, in my opinion, and the key grammar issues, okay? So braces, the braces are two possibilities. For the teeth, when you have the braces in your teeth to fix your teeth, that's a brace. And the second example is for the shirt, when you have the shirt and this object are the braces, okay? So you have braces on your shirt, on your clothes, and also in your teeth you have the braces to fix your teeth, the structure, okay? But in this case it's for the clothes, the braces. Roll up, so roll is this action, roll, and roll up your sleeve. The sleeve is the manga, and if you roll up sleeves, that's the style. So in this picture on the internet, I think you can see the picture of a shirt. So here's a sleeve, mangas, and they are rolled up, okay? But also in English it's an expression. To roll up your sleeves means to start working muy duro, muy bien. Entonces, para trabajar muy bien, muy duro, necesitas roll up your sleeves. Okay, so it's a very famous expression, to roll up your sleeves. But in this case, it's just literal. Okay, so here, it's just the style, description of the appearance of the man. Has died. So this is an example of the present perfect, because it's an action in the past, but it's relevant to the present, because we are speaking about the topic, because everybody is involved in the topic. But you need to be careful. The verb is to die. Como morir, the verb to die. The past simple is died. So the verb is to die, infinitive. Died is the past simple, irregular. Adjective is dead, and the substantive is death. So this family is very important for the spelling. Okay, so the verb is to die. The past simple is died. Okay, so she, he died. Subject, that's the past simple, irregular. And the adjective is dead. Okay, very important. For example, the city is dead, the party is dead, the atmosphere is dead. Adjective. Okay, and substantive is death, the noun. Okay, substantive. So very important difference with the spelling, como deletrear in Espanol. Died, died, and yeah, I think I had pressed the wrong button there, but let me show you correctly. Yeah, died, dead, and death. Okay, so very important. And here it's the present perfect. Has died. Aged is edad, is age, but it's possible a verb as well. So age is the substantive. The age is edad, but aged I think is adjective as well, or participle. Okay, and here it is also possible a verb to age. So for example, this table has aged very well. That means over time, during time, the table has survived very well. It appears very good. It looks very good. To age well. Okay, and is one of this structure. I introduced this structure last week also. One of plus the plural. Okay, so here the plural is legends, leyendas, plural. So this structure, it's necessary. One of plus the plural. One of the best days, one of the best years, one of the best players, one of the most interesting actresses. So plural with this structure, one of. Here it's with leyendas, legends. Broadcasting. So this is a very important word, to broadcast. Okay, and basically there is a verb to cast, and I get the spelling correct also. So cast is like tirar. So to cast is like tirar, typical with the fishing. When you go fishing and you cast the fishing rod, I'll get my tissue. Yeah, so the cast is like tirar, this action to cast. Also, it's possible your net, when you go fishing, to cast a net, and it's like tirar in Espanol. And broad is amplio. So broad is amplio, and broadcast is typical with the television company or the radio, como transmitir, broadcast, porque tirar el signal muy lejos y muy amplio. Okay, and that's a very good example, to broadcast. So broadcasting is the industry of television and movies, I suppose. Okay, his own is proprio. Owner is the verb to own is propiar. Okay, and here it's the own nightly program, su proprio. Okay, so it's a very important word. So here it's the verb to own. The person is the owner. Okay, dueño. And here the preposition on is for the TV channel. So on BBC, on RTE, on RTVE in Espanol, on the channel, on CNN. This word political is the adjective. Okay, so the leader is the person and political is the adjective, but the person is the politician. So you need to be clear between politician, como político in Espanol, politician, pronunciation, adjective is political, and the subject is politics. So very important difference, okay? So voy a escribir aquí. Politician is the person, politics is the subject, asignatura in school, and political is the adjective. Okay, so very important, and in this example it's the adjective because the leader is the substantive, and remember the explanation in the grammar, the adjective describes the substantive. So here's the political leader. Peak is Peco in Espanol, so the peak of the mountain. The peak is the top, and the typical preposition is at the peak. In your career, in your profession, you're at the peak, at the top or at the bottom, okay? Again, on for the program, for the station, the television station, on this TV, on CNN, bringing in. So this is maybe, well, it's definitely a preposition, but it's literal. So it's a phrasal verb, but it's literal. So there's no second meaning. To bring is traer, and bring in is como coger, like to collect. Bringing in 1.5 million viewer. So the viewer is the audience. It's a synonym for the audience, people who watch the television. Okay, aired. So air is the air substantive, but it's possible a verb to air, typical with television and broadcasting, like transmitir de nuevo. So broadcast and air is a verb, two verbs, and it's really to transmit. Okay, so to air, the program is the verb. So very interesting, like to broadcast. Okay, and then the preposition for the year. Normally for the year we say in 2020, in 2019, in 2010. So preposition for the year in for the year, okay? The longest running, so run is corre, and running is a gerundio, and longest running with the hyphen, aquí tienes the hyphen, it's one word, longest running. So it's the show, like obra, in the theatre tienes the obra, like the show, it's a mismo, porque el verbo to show is mostrar, and substantivo is to show, or de show, okay? But it's the longest running because it's continuous. It's continuous show for the record, the longest time, okay? In is the preposition with a message, in my message, in your message, and here, again, it's on for the preposition for his show. So in is the preposition connected with his message, the information in my message, the instructions in your letter, in, okay, for message and letter, on his show, on the television show, on the program. Beyond is a preposition, más allá in Espanol, beyond, okay, to infinity and beyond. And then this is an example of the passive. So you remember the active and the passive. So the construction of the passive is the subject, the extra auxiliary verb to be, and the participle of the verb. So in this case, described is the participle, and the auxiliary verb is to be, but also it's in the past perfect. So it's a complicated structure, and it's a very good example of high level English that I recommend you try to reach and try to use, okay? So that is an example of analysis of a text, and obviously we can continue if you want. There's one section, there's lots of more vocabulary and expressions, so you can see here, and really good vocabulary, but I suppose you can continue that yourself, and yeah, that's good work for today. So today we looked at the introduction document in general for English, all the grammar topics, the grammar points. Also we looked at a list of phrasal verbs that are so important, difficult, but really so important to understand native speaking and proficient English for sure. Very, very important. Phrasal verbs, the introduction document, and this is just an example of normal English on the newspaper, in the newspaper, on the internet, on a website, okay? So good, lots of good work, but I think for today that's enough, okay? So thank you for enjoying and watching the free class. Tomorrow I will do something similar. I will change the topic, but probably I will continue with the phrasal verbs, and little by little we will try to understand English a little better. Espero que me entiendes cuando hablo en inglés. Creo que es un poquito fluente o muy rápido, pero ojalá que entiendes. Y gracias para ver. And everything is free. Thank you very much. It's all free. If you want to give a tip, or if you want to make a little donation of €1 or €2, I will give you my information here. This is for PayPal if you want. and I think you just enter the email address to send the tip or a euro if you want. It's not necessary, and thank you again. So I will put the information and the notes on the document, on the video in Facebook, and the link for the article as well. So thank you for watching the class, and hopefully talk to you soon, and enjoy your day. Bye bye.